All right, so let's go ahead and introduce our panel. Hopefully, let's start up. Come on up, guys. I'll just read your names off as you come up. Of course, Commissioner Amy Lockhart with Seminole County Government. John Janusz with Freebee. Ben Pauluhn with Optimus Energy Solutions. And finally, Adam Stark with Seminole State College. Let's give all of them a nice round of applause. Real quickly, how many people have seen one of the Scout vehicles on the road? Okay, let me rephrase that. Is there anybody who has not seen a Scout vehicle on the road? One person in the back. Okay. Drive around more Seminole County, get out, leave the house, it's all good. So let's go ahead and start. Just a real quick one. I'm just gonna go down the line. So let's start with a basic overview of Scout and each of your roles with the programs. So John, why don't you go ahead and start?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Alan. So my name is John Janusz. I'm up here from Miami Beach. I am the Vice President of Economic Development with Freebee, and we are the operators of the amazing service put on by Seminole County called Scout. So what is Scout? Really basic. Everyone knows what transportation is. Everyone knows what mass transit is. What we do is provide microtransit. So instead of large vehicles going on a fixed route, on a fixed schedule, where you have to adjust yourself to it, microtransit customizes itself to you. So it's smaller vehicles, door-to-door service, on demand. 90+% of the rides originate on your cell phone, and you order it kind of like an Uber or a Lyft. Picks you up at your door, takes you conveniently where you'd like to go. And it's just an amazing service, and the vehicles that we operate are 100% electric, which just adds a little bit of, kind of mystique to the service, as that's kind of a new thing still.
Adam, what's your role?
Well, aside from providing the space for Scout, because they are in one of our parking lots, you like your vehicles, they work now. When they break, we provide the techs that will fix them. Our technicians graduate and then they go out into the local dealerships, and those are the people working on your cars. And the term that we like to stay away from is there is a term, and people think of grease monkey when they think of vehicles. Your car is a rolling computer now. So we provide trained, skilled technicians to work on your vehicles, your internal combustion now, and as we move to electric vehicles and then to autonomous vehicles.
Commissioner?
So my role, sitting as a representative for Seminole County Board of County Commissioners on the Links Board, which is your regional transportation authority that runs the big 40-foot long buses, was to figure out how Seminole County could think about things a little bit differently. Every year, Links comes to us with a budget request, and every year that budget request continues to increase, and the predicted number was just completely, frankly, unsustainable for you as Seminole County taxpayers. So this past year, we were paying Links $17 million a year for transit. We will be saving millions and millions of dollars, upwards of $10 million, by switching to this new service. And it's not often that you get to say that government has found a solution through the private sector where we're delivering a better product for less money. So it's a win-win-win.
Absolutely. Ben?
Yeah, we're, in simple terms, just an infrastructure provider. We provide power generation and distribution through EV charging throughout principally the Southeast U.S., and in a number of cases, we've rolled out infrastructure in support of Freebee's program, in this case, Scout, through starting with the college and then looking at countywide infrastructure needs.
Fantastic. So the program kicked off in October, I believe, is around when we started up. John or Amy, Commissioner, why don't you start? What's been the initial public reaction to the program?
Sure. It's been varied, and I think, for the most part, very positive. One of the things that I really need everyone's help with is to understand, first of all, that Scout, first and foremost, was a replacement vehicle, transportation vehicle for our current Links riders, those who are most vulnerable in our community, who rely on public transportation, the people who have to walk to the closest bus stop and stand in the rain or the heat and wait for that bus, whether it's on time or late, to then have to take that bus to a location that may not be anywhere near where they ultimately want to go. That was our first customer, to find a better solution for those people. What we have found is they really like buses. So we had this transition time built in from October to January, and we said, this is going to be great. We're going to give this all this time and opportunity to transition and figure out how the new routes work. They're not routes. They can pick them up wherever they are, take them wherever they want to go. And what we've learned is there was a whole group of people who had unmet transportation needs in this community. And they are the ones who are utilizing Scout today. There are thousands of people. I think we've had 18,000 individual riders in November alone in Seminole County. And the reason we know those are not Lynx riders necessarily is because Lynx's numbers have not declined yet. Those fixed route transportation routes have not started to see a reduction in riders. So I'm thrilled. We found a gap. There was a need that we didn't realize was as significant as it was. Scout, Freebee is filling that need. But January 11th, those big buses are going away, except for 3 of the most utilized routes in 436 and 434. So it's really important if you work with folks, if you have any interaction with individuals who utilize our fixed route Lynx transportation system, we need them to start utilizing Freebee now, Scout now, because when January 11th comes, that bus will not be at that bus stop, and then there's going to be panic, and we don't need panic.
Adam, you told me an interesting story over here about one of your students. Can you share that story and how their life is being changed by Scout?
Yes, so one of my students who's a non-traditional student, he's actually finishing up his associate's degree in IT. He just got hired at the college, so he's working full-time. He's a full-time student, and he and his mother live together because through different bouts of moving back and forth through Puerto Rico, bout of homelessness, and then he got in at the school after doing adult high school. He's an amazing success story, and I'm proud of him, and I've even brought him here to talk to this group. His mother doesn't drive. And he would have to leave work early. He'd have to leave his schoolwork, disrupt his schoolwork. He hooked his mom up with the app for this, and he was like, Mom, you don't have to wait for me. So it made both of their lives easier because they were getting eaten alive by waiting for the bus or Uber expenses, and those were getting kind of sketchy, and she's a single older woman. She wasn't feeling very comfortable. She's ecstatic about how clean and how comfortable and how safe she feels. And now she's not dependent on her son to wait around and take her places.
John, what's been the reaction from your guys' end? Is there things that you are really proud of, things that are going to change?
We've received wonderful feedback so far. It's a popular service. It's going to continue to grow. It's a very tech-forward kind of service, so another differentiating point from traditional transit is that we get all the data, and we provide the data to our partners here at the county, and together we analyze the data, and we're always trying to spot areas for increased efficiency and just any way that we can provide the best service possible for the community. So as the commissioner said, the best rides we can give are to the people that need the rides, but we also want to give rides to people that just greatly benefit from them. So here we're at the Chamber of Commerce, so if you're in this room today, you have a career, and you're a leader in your career. And so when you're doing job interviews, and the question you always ask is, do you have dependable transportation? Well, now you don't have to ask that question. You could just ask, do you live in Seminole County? And if they live in Seminole County, once we get all the wrinkles ironed out, then the answer is going to be yes, they're going to have dependable transportation.
Unless they live in the rural boundary. Sorry.
Thank you.
I feel like I have to say that only because we do have we did make a very distinct decision that we did not want to provide public transportation into the rural boundary for cost reasons, and because frankly the people in the rural boundary want to be rural, and we want to respect that and allow them to continue to live that lifestyle.
Fantastic. How is this, and John, maybe you can answer this, how is this different from what Altamont's doing with their vehicles? Because you see their pathways going through with autonomous vehicles. How is this different?
Are you familiar with their service?
Yeah.
Commissioner, take it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so Altamont started years ago with a program, Crane Rides. They're autonomous vehicles, and they ride basically to the mall and back, kind of that. They are now going, I think, to be going toward to the Sunrail station. They're going to try to continue to change that. If Frank Martz is watching this, Frank, I love you. And so I'm not as well versed in Crane Rides as I should be, but this is exceedingly different. This is a driver-driven vehicle. Crane rides is get in a lane with a car that drive. I'm not comfortable with autonomous yet. I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you, and I think there are a lot of people who aren't, and that may be why there's not as much ridership. But love you, Frank.
Adam, you want to add in on that as well?
I would second Commissioner Lockhart's. Frank is a visionary. He's always pushing Altamont with technology. This one he might be pushing a little too far ahead because, as you see with autonomous vehicles, people are hesitant to get in without a driver. So this provides that little piece of there's still a person there. I think we'll see AVs, autonomous vehicles, pick up, and I'm excited because we're involved with their program as well. But there's that peace of mind to having a person behind the wheel. So it's a same end goal, different ways of getting there.
Gotcha. So one of the things we talk about is electric vehicles. Commissioner, why are electric vehicles being used on this?
Because our contractor chose them.
Okay, well, John.
No. So truly, I think, there's a lot of buzz around electric vehicles, and there seem to be, two camps. You either love them, or you either have an opinion that supports the use of electric vehicles, or you have an opinion that maybe is less friendly toward electric vehicles. And so our board, the Board of County Commissioners, we're agnostic. Right? We need a vehicle that the private sector can fit 6 people in. We did not, in our RFP, give any indication as to whether or not that was a selling point or not for us. We are not in the electric vehicle program. We don't even want to be in the transportation program. That's why we put out an RFP and hired the private sector to do the work that we know historically government isn't as great at, right? We do some things really, really well. Delivering transportation historically is not something that we excel at. So electric vehicles were not anything that we envisioned as being important in this endeavor.
Okay, John, maybe you could talk about then why you started that.
Thank you. So the answer to this question, and really why we choose anything that we do, is we try to provide the best service we can possibly provide. So on the topic of electric vehicles, if you go to Google and you type in the advantages or type in the disadvantages of electric vehicles, the list is about 50-50. So you kind of have to look at it for yourself individually. For what we do as a fleet operator, and we provide a hyper-local service, the advantages tend to lean in our direction, and the disadvantages tend to not lean in our direction. If you're going cross-country, you have to kind of worry about when's the next charging station. Do I charge at 10%, 5%, 20%? I think Tesla defaults to around 20% when they give a recommendation where to charge up to. We know where our charging homes are, and we never go more than a few miles from them. And it's just, it's virtually silent, so it lowers noise pollution, 0 tailpipe emissions, so it improves local air quality. And you just kind of have that futuristic zoom when you get in the vehicle. So there is a bit of a novelty to it. We don't want to provide a ride that, we don't want to depend on people to ride Scout that depend on transportation. We want to be able to attract people who have options that go, hey, I don't want to add to the traffic problem, let me take a Scout. So it's really it's part of that whole package deal and for what we do. We don't exclusively use electric vehicles, and in fact here we have a series of hybrid vehicles. Those are the wheelchair accessible vehicles. In some cases we operate a larger fixed route, which is not our specialty, and those might even be ICE vehicles. But yeah, we feel for what we do, the EVs is the best way to provide the service, and it's just one of many aspects of Freebee and Scout that makes it a great service.
Ben, can you add on a little bit more about EVs versus ICE? Internal combustible engines.
Yeah, I would probably take more of an investment approach versus one against another. So when Optimus rolls out charging stations, the vast majority of them we are doing out of our own pocket, at 100% at our expense, 100% maintaining them at our expense, on the expectation that they are going to be used. Now, in this case, we have more of a captive client or user than many of our ones that we would just put out in the wild, so to speak. And so when we were looking at a program like this, really trying to just take a pure logical approach and going back to where we started our companies, in America, right or wrong, better or worse, the consumer generally wins. That's kind of been sort of the MO. And in this particular case, a lot of the benefits, especially of local stuff, point-to-point, huge resident consumer user improvement. Quieter by every metric available, safer. And so, like, personally, I don't care what vehicle. Our company's got about half and half based on what routes, based on this. But by every single metric that is designed to serve the community, the metrics pointed in that way. And so we feel very comfortable making, at least my wife hopes so, heavy bets towards building out this infrastructure throughout the Southeast, in this case for Scout. And then we looked at some of the second and third order benefits of predictable overnight electric use. That's like the holy grail for our utility partners. And so that helps over time at significant scale bring residential rates down, or at least hold them steady, what one would hope. And so as you dig through the model, you look at the first, second, third order benefits, and you're like, well, I haven't found a hole yet. And so that's a lot of the reason that we've gone into this, besides that we like it.
And one of the aspects of Scout is that it is creating economic development, because both you and Freebee are investing in Seminole County. Roughly how much investment are you making into this project, and how many jobs are being created from your guys' work here? Ben, why don't you go ahead and start, and then we'll jump over to John.
we have the upfront construction and then the ongoing costs. Construction-wise, we have a team of 6 dedicated now to both this and others, and then it just depends on how many other private property owners in Seminole County would like free amenities installed on their property at no charge to them. Would be helpful to the jobs number, because we would love to do that with anyone that has the right parcel and wishes to help serve the county. And then, we have we're headquartered out of Mount Dora, but a lot of our folks live in Seminole County. And so I would say a good estimate is 6 to 10 on an ongoing basis.
John?
We currently employ 80 people here, which we're very excited about. That number's going to grow to 100 and then to 120. We were talking about, we have drivers and not autonomous vehicles. Our drivers are full employees. They are not contractors. And since we're driving for the government, they have to go through level 2 background checks, criminal background checks, 6-year safe driving, random drug tests. And so, our drivers, they're not just better than autonomous vehicles. They're really kind of like the heart and soul of the service. Yes, they have to be safe drivers, but we also want them to have kind of warm, welcoming personalities. So, if the need arises, they're helping people with groceries or anything that they can do. So it's really kind of a cornerstone of what we do. We like to make sure our people representing us are smiling, and people are always telling me, like, wow, your driver was so friendly, and we love that. So it's really kind of a important part of the service we provide.
Are you still hiring?
We are still hiring. We're almost always hiring. We're actually going to be launching a service with Lynx very soon as well. So yeah, we'll be creating more jobs in the area, and we also want to help you create more jobs as well. So if people get in a Scout vehicle, well, they pretty much can't leave the county unless they're going to the rail station. So that's going to help keep people's buying power here in the county, and so hopefully that stimulates all the local businesses and helps everyone else hire as well as us.
Gotcha. Adam, let's talk about workforce development, because one of the things you've got now, this is right by the Automotive Training Center. Literally, you can see each other from back and forth. So you were talking about this is almost like a working lab for your students. Talk about workforce development, the need for vehicle training, especially in EVs, as the market continues to grow.
Certainly. So at heart, I'm a teacher, so I'm going to take your question and turn it into a question. Raise your hand if in high school you were forced to read Shakespeare. Thank you. This is my group. So I want you to ask your kids if they're doing Shakespeare now, because they don't. But Shakespeare hasn't changed since we were in high school. The way you teach it has changed. The beautiful part of what I do in career, technical, and workforce education is as soon as we print the book, what we're teaching has changed. So our content is constantly changing. How we teach our content is constantly changing. So this offers us an opportunity where our students can walk out our back door and see, hey, that's what I'm going to do. So any chance that we can link that in our students' brains to go, I'm not just learning to read Shakespeare because as much as we all had to read it, I'm pretty sure we don't use it on a daily basis, but our students are using what they learn on a daily basis. So anytime we can get that connection in their brain to see my professor's not just talking, this is where I'm going to use it. So we are constantly reinforcing our students with us, and that's the best part of what we do.
Are you seeing, this is one of the things, and this was not on my questions as a follow-up, are you seeing more students come in and saying, hey, I want to learn how to train and provide maintenance for EVs, or is it still just, I want to be in the car business?
So we've actually had a couple surprising things, and this is coming out of the tail of the pandemic. We have students coming to us who don't know how to drive. I know, shocking. It's like, why are you into cars if you don't know how to drive? And they come to us because they see automotive technician is a viable career. It is a way to make good money. It is a successful career. So they go, that's a successful route. I can be interested in cars. There's technology in there. We get a lot of technical students who come to us. So again, going back to that term that we're moving away from, and I've said it twice now, grease monkey. We're moving more towards a technical individual. So, and I'm always shocked when we get students who, I had one student who was moving my car because I was parked in the way. He goes, you might want to take over because I'm not wearing my glasses. I can't see really well. I was like, get out. So, but yes, we are seeing a different type of student, and students are coming to us with different backgrounds, and that's what we get excited about.
Workforce is one of the issues that's out there facing it. Also is the infrastructure and the charging infrastructure. One of the concerns that anybody has when they buy an EV is, where am I going to charge it? Ben, there was a lot of federal dollars coming through, but now Optimus is paying for those. You've done Charging Hub in Winter Park. How does it make fiscal sense for a private investment to build up infrastructure for the EV charging station?
Yeah, so we chose intentionally never to participate in any of those sort of, I'll say, rebate or grant programs. I mean, half the time the paperwork takes more money than you actually get out of it. And the honest answer is, I don't know if it makes sense. I mean, it's a big roll of the dice to self-fund significant infrastructure regionally or multi-state infrastructure. But just going back to the logic of how we think about it is, we're making an investment in a demonstrably better consumer experience that's quieter, safer, that has a downward trend on cost, and ultimately that sort of ties into the Scout program where you get that rare opportunity of the trifecta. You get better service for residents and visitors, lower government public sector costs, and more private sector capital investment and jobs. And so that's a trend that one would wish to be a part of.
So we will have time for some Q&A. So if you have a question, make sure that you see Pauluhn, kind of get Pauluhn as a question. We got a question over there right now, but let's go ahead and take a couple of questions from the audience.
Hello, my name's Carolina. I wanted to ask, because you were saying, so Lynx is going to take away 3 buses, or is going to take away buses in January?
We're keeping 3 routes. I actually thank you so much to Chris Patton, who gave me the routes that are going away because I do not have them memorized. So here are the routes that are going away. Route 34. I don't know if you know these numbers. How many of you ride Lynx? Have ever been on a Lynx bus? How many of you have ever ridden a Lynx bus? Okay. Yeah. How many of you relied on it regularly for your transportation? Okay, got it.
See, and there's the problem.
Right, okay, yeah. So Route 34, which is North US 1792, Route 45, which is Lake Mary Boulevard, 46 East 1st Street, downtown Sanford is going away, 1792 Fern Park to Sanford is going away, 434, the Oviedo Circulator and the Sanford Circulator.
I ask this just because if the intent of producing this was to help the people that are using these facilities that will no longer have access to that, but now you saw that there is a different need now. What is your plan to address that? Because obviously there's going to be a surplus of need once those routes get removed. So how are you planning on dealing with that?
The additional cars and employees that Freebee is going to be bringing on board will be a huge part of that. I think it is less a capacity issue and more an issue of the fear of change. I think that you know, when you actually tell someone that your ride will come and pick you up, you won't have to walk to a Lynx bus stop anymore, and it will take you exactly where you want to go. That is life-changing for a mother who has to go to the laundromat to do her laundry. That is life-changing for a student who wants to participate in dual enrollment in Seminole County Public Schools. So I think we have an incredible outreach program that has already started and is going to continue to kick in. Flyers at all of the bus stations, working with nonprofits who work with people who rely on the fixed route system, putting snipe signs, which by the way are illegal in Seminole County. I know small businesses love them, but I'll use an opportunity to talk about our code. But we're going to do it too. So we're about. Just be honest. You're going to see some snipe signs out there near the Lynx bus stops so that people are aware that these are going away. We're doing everything that we can to communicate. I feel like I have been on every local news media station possible. We've been talking about it ad nauseum. So, yeah, we understand the need, and we're prepared to fill it.
John, maybe you can address some of this as well, because one of the closing questions was, what's next for Scout? John, how do you, you know, nonprofits are in the audience. You know, a lot of them have relied on Lynx over the years. What's the outreach to those social services that really need to make that transition for you?
Yeah, thank you. Well, the county's taken a very data-driven look at this. That's why they maintain the 3 of the busiest routes. So data kind of leads the decisions with everything. As far as the outreach goes, yeah, I mean, we're constantly, you know, looking for any of the community groups that we can reach out to, senior groups, underserved populations, disadvantaged populations. You know, we're always looking for opportunities to connect with any of those organizations or groups within the county. If anybody knows any, I know when I was here a couple months ago, I met a couple people that represented groups, and we've been in touch with them. So yeah, we're always looking for ways to reach out. I mean, you know, and these are the people that need it the most are often the hardest to reach. So it's kind of it's an infinite effort, and it never really ends. And so yeah, anyone here can absolutely help us and reach that goal. But again, yeah, the people that need the service the most are often the hardest to reach. So it's kind of a group effort to reach them.
Of course, you made the smart decision to join the chamber and sponsor Good Morning Seminole. Thank you very much. We have another question from the audience.
My question is, so Lynx is affordable for the riders because, you know, they don't have cars, and it's also an affordable option. Is this going to be an affordable option as well, since it's going to be front door service to front door?
Yes. So we gave our staff an impossible task. We said we want this service to be expensive enough that people who don't need it won't choose it, right? We want it to be cost effective enough that people who can't afford it can use it. We don't want to compete with Uber because that's an important private sector business that is, and Lyft, right? So we needed to thread a very small needle with our fare system, with the structure. And so the fare structure was also, we brought in an economist, we used data. It went through several rounds looking through federal regulations of making sure that it was going to be appropriate. The way that we chose to do it was by offering discounts to those who qualify. So if you are in a vulnerable population and you qualify, if you're a senior, if you are economically disadvantaged, if you are a student, there are significant discounts. If you are going to any Sunrail station, it is a flat fare. So in some cases, people will be paying less than they pay for their Lynx bus pass. To utilize Scout, but they have to get online. So here's the other thing. This is not an anonymous system. The ability to ride public transportation in Scout vehicles anonymously does not exist. You don't have to use a phone. I mean, you don't have to use an app. You can call, but we're not picking up random people, right? Quite frankly, because of safety reasons. Because you might be the mom who needs your child picked up from an after-school program because you're working that shift and you can't pick up your child, and you don't want necessarily your 15-year-old child in a Scout vehicle with someone who they shouldn't be in a Scout vehicle with, right? So there's a safety factor that we took into consideration with this move as well.
John, talk a little bit about the zones and how that works, because Seminole County's broken into zones, and you stay in the zone and it's one price, go to the other zone. Talk about a little bit more on that, on the pricing structure.
I might defer that to the commissioner, because they designed everything. They really, like, it's really brilliant how it was designed and the pricing structure. And it would have been kind of way out of my range because I don't have the local knowledge, but the county really did all that.
Commissioner, thank you very much, by the way. This is wonderful.
So the brains behind this operation, Christian Swenson was one of our lead staff members who really latched onto this program, and unfortunately he is not here this morning, but he and a team of people utilizing students actually from UCF and Florida State University are really the ones who figured out the impossible task of how to try to make this work. And we were very honest with them, and we gave them the ability to fail. And I think that's something that is really important when you try something so incredibly new. This is a drastic change for a local government our size to try and tackle. And I think it's often difficult for folks to get over the idea of we're doing something new and what if it doesn't work? Right? The fear of failure is real. And we said to them, look, give it your best shot. And if we find out that this doesn't work exactly the way you think it's going to work, we can pivot. We can make changes. That's how we're going to make sure that this system improves over time, is because we're not married to how we started it. We will be able to modify because of the incredible data that Freebee can provide us, so that we make sure that the system is geared specifically for the people who need to use it.
This is one of the first, you're one of the first, if not the first communities to do this. Are other communities calling you guys, John, Commissioner, maybe both of you would know that, saying, hey, how do we replicate this?
So I think we are the largest at this scale. Yes, there are lots and lots of other smaller communities in Florida, especially South Florida, who utilize Freebee very successfully. I don't think there's anyone with this geographic scale.
John?
Yeah, that's very true. We're based in Miami. We operate this service with over 50 cities and counties and sometimes areas within cities. It's growing rapidly. We're a small team, so we don't really have like a marketing team or any major investors or anything like that. So our whole goal is just kind of exceed expectations, and then word of mouth kind of carries us from there. But what's going on in Seminole County here, like we work in transportation, so we see where mass transit makes sense, we see where microtransit makes sense, we see where a combination of the both makes sense, but not everyone else sees that yet. And so for Seminole County to take such a forward-thinking approach, and it's really a unique situation. I mean, you have 500,000 people that live in this county, but they're spread out over several cities and other areas that aren't incorporated, and not kind of like your traditional structure where like Orlando's kind of got like the dense center and then it just kind of dissipates from there. So it's really kind of a unique situation, and so it was very forward thinking by the county to really recognize that the emergence of microtransit will serve this county in a much greater way than mass transit could. But I lived in New York City for 10 years, so I know in New York City microtransit would be, not even measure 1% of what the mass transit system does up there. So every community is unique. But yeah, the demand keeps growing. There were about 50 or 60 microtransit programs pre-COVID in this country. Now there's, I think, between 600 and 700. So it's just really proliferated in this country, and we really struggle to keep up with the demand. So we don't really, accept invitations from across the country or in Canada just yet. We're kind of focused mostly on Florida up through Virginia. But yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to be looking at Seminole County and calling you and keeping you busy and keeping your team busy, asking, how did you come up with this idea and how did you customize it for your county?
And one of the differences, just to be clear, is like in Mount Dora, you're augmenting public transportation. Here, it's replacing most of the transportation, correct? Most of the places are kind of augmenting on microtransit, right?
Yes, it's so in that sense you would call it first mile, last mile service, and in another sense you might just call it the only mile. So in Mount Dora, and if you've been to Mount Dora, what an amazing place in that downtown area, which is where we focus. There must be 50 or 60 restaurants there and nowhere to park. And the restaurants say, hey, people drive around for 45 minutes, call us and cancel their reservation because there's nowhere to park. So really our main purpose there is to connect people from the surface parking lots, I think they have one garage, to their final destination. So it's really just a first mile, last mile from the parking, more so than anything else. But yeah, in some cases we work directly with like a train company, a train service, and it's just first mile, last mile service to the train station. So yeah, it varies. That's the beauty of microtransit. You can customize it to suit the needs of the community.
Of course, if you need parking and you drive an EV, Ben has chargers at his office in downtown Mount Dora. So we got time for one last question. Let's take it away. We only got a couple of minutes to answer. So go ahead, real quick.
Hi, thanks. My name is Pete, and you kind of sort of answered it halfway. Lynx is a regional service, and so my question was, what kind of feedback have you been getting from Orange County, for instance, about canceling the service up here? And also, would a person be able to take a Scout into Orange County and then pick up the bus? I mean, how would that work?
So we do have an agreement with UCF that students who are going to the campus in Oviedo, south of Oviedo, that Scout vehicles are welcome there. Our goal is to take anyone who wants to go to Orange or Volusia to a Sunrail station. We need ridership on those trains to increase, and by subsidizing even more aggressively rides to the Sunrail stations, we believe we'll do that. I will say anytime you're in a regional partnership with a variety of different constituencies, you're going to not have everyone agree on what the best outcome is. My responsibility and our responsibility as Seminole County Commissioners is to serve Seminole County citizens and look out for our taxpayer dollars. So what works best in Orange and Orlando doesn't necessarily work best in Seminole. And we've had those conversations, and frankly, we've come to a really great place because Lynx, as you may have heard very quietly, Lynx has just selected Freebee through an RFB process to take over their Neighbor Link program. So we did something right by them recognizing, although initially they weren't terribly excited about the idea, because frankly we are a significant funding partner, and we tried valiantly with them to reduce our costs. How can we value engineer our portion of the service? And the word that we got back was, well, the way that you do that is you cut routes. So we said, okay, well then we're going to cut some routes. And I don't think they thought we were going to cut as many as we decided to cut. So partnerships are great, and partnerships are challenging when you don't all have the same constituencies that you're trying to serve. But I think we're in a very good place, and I feel very confirmed by the fact that that Lynx has in fact selected Freebee to utilize their microtransit service.
Fantastic. Let's give everybody a nice round of applause for the panel up here. I'm sure they're going to stick around and ask any questions that you might have. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Rebecca.